Today in the science lab, we have some more elite striking, and we're looking at Israel Adesanya to be specific because he has a fight coming up. And I'm looking at one of his better performances, in my opinion, where he shuts down the pressure fighter and turns him into a fighter who's not willing to come forward at all. And so we're going to explain how that happens and break down all the aspects of his game that he showed in this particular fight. So obviously, Israel is known for his feints. And right there, he feints the leg kick. He feints like he's going to pull that leg up. And then Paulo gives a little bit of a reaction, but it's not much of one. So the next time, he throws the real thing. But since he steps through, in Muay Thai and some kickboxing, you're taught to step outwards, to turn the hip over and get full power behind the kick. But that also telegraphs it so Paulo's able to escape from that kick. He's going to try and come forward. He's coming forward with these feints, trying to close the distance, trying to put on pressure. But as he is, notice how he's stopping. He's not making much progress because when he is, those feints are slowing him down, but more specifically, he's getting punished. So he's putting on that boxing pressure, right? So in boxing, there's a lot of weight on that lead leg. If you put too much weight on that lead leg, you get a stump on that knee, it'll hyperextend it. So a lot of those shots were slowing him down. And then another way to neutralize that forward pressure, lateral movement. So Paulo's trying to come at him in a straight line. Izzy's going to make it hard for him to walk him down because you can't walk down somebody that's strafing around on the edges of the cage. Stop, feint, get the reaction, and then throw the real thing. And if you look at the leg kicks in this fight, he keeps hitting them right behind the knee. And so he's hitting those nerves. He's not necessarily hitting muscles. He's more so targeting nerves that gets immediate damage fast and is slowing Paulo down in the round. Not after the fight, but during the fight. So in boxing scoring, there's this thing called ring generalship, which is basically enforcing your style, which I don't think is a good scoring criteria, but it's a great way to think about fights and analyze them. And so one of the reasons, two reasons why Izzy fights are so boring, obviously has to do with Izzy and his low output style. But the other one, and the most underrated aspect, is that he shuts down his opponents. That's why the title is Shutdown, because his opponents don't want to open up. His opponents don't want to do anything because every time they do, they get punished for it. He's such an elite counter striker, and he's specifically great at shutting down pressure. So Paulo's coming forward, and then he gets a quick feint, pushes him back, jabs, pushing him back. Paulo's afraid to start up anything. And then another way you slow down that forward progress of your opponent is giving him different looks. So now when he throws that back leg, it has that same startup as the leg kick, except for it's coming up the middle as a front kick. And it's a grazing shot. I try and say all the time, shots don't have to land. They don't even have to graze in order for them to be effective, in the sense that your opponent becomes aware that there's a new threat, and that new threat slows them down or makes them hesitate or makes them double guess, all of that. And then it's moments like this where Izzy really starts controlling the fight. He feints and gets big reactions out of Costa. What does that mean? Well, if you can control your opponent's reactions, then you can control the fight. If you can control the fight, it's now your fight to win and your fight to dominate, which he went on to do. And then, like how he does, he feints and then he does the real thing. So the breakdown there is that once Paulo resets into a stance, as soon as he steps back into a stance and he's coming forward, Izzy times him and lands on the back of that knee again, shutting down that leg. But also another thing he does is this stutter step, and then he steps out. So that little step messes up the rhythm, catches Paulo off guard. Paulo just reset his stance, perfect leg kick. And then there's moments like this that show the mental aspect of the fight. Paulo's telling Izzy to come forward. When he does, look at what Paulo does. He's backing up. Remember, Paulo is the pressure fighter. Paulo's the one who walks people down with his high guard and puts boxing combinations on them. But when Izzy's coming forward on Paulo, all of a sudden stuff gets weird. Again, get a big reaction out of a feint, make him jump back. Paulo's hesitating. Paulo's second guessing himself. You can't enforce your style if you're not confident. Again, Paulo's trying to enforce his style, trying to look at him. He's finally trying to close the distance. He's making progress. And Izzy backs up, stomps that knee again. It's like every time Paulo tries to do what he does to win fights, those things get taken away from him. Shut down. Then you see this need to force the issue start to build up. A little bit of desperation, a little bit of wanting to get back, a little bit of knowing that you're down. Paul's like, okay, I gotta do something. So he's forcing the issue, and he's getting a little bit sloppy. He's chasing him down. But the most interesting thing is, in this situation, when Paulo gets him cornered, nothing happens. So the most advantageous position he had in the entire fight, he was still hesitating. So that's how much he felt himself getting picked apart. Even why I call it desperation is because he gets a little bit sloppy. And so he comes running at him, no stance, hands down, boom, runs into a combo. And I call this a Leon Edwards situation. You're gonna find out why. He throws the left hand, and normally when you're fighting an orthodox opponent, they throw out the left hand. It's a jab. When you slip to the left or your right, when you slip to your right, you get to the outside. But in this case, it's a southpaw, so when he slips to his right, it's actually an inside slip, and he lines his head up for the head kick that lands clean, just like Leon Edwards did to Kamaru Usman. And then you're gonna see another reason why Izzy's fights are so boring. Well, what happens when people try and put pressure on him, when people try and beat him up, when people try and overcome all the stuff that's coming at them from the outside, the leg kicks and stuff like that? Well, Robert Whitaker, Alex Pereira, Paulo Costa, these are all people that tried to close the distance, tried to punish him, and to some extent it worked for some of them. Robert was landing some good shots. Pereira beat him in one of the fights, and Pereira was hurting him in the second. But this also happens. So Costa's gonna throw that jab. Izzy's gonna slip to the inside. He's gonna try and throw that right overhand, but it's at a bad angle, so it misses. But the right overhand also loads his weight onto his left side right here. And as that weight is loaded, he slingshots that arm across into a pretty loose hook, but it's tight at the end. It's like a whip, and it hits him right up near the temple and the ear, puts him out partially, and then he finishes with ground and pound. He was hurt bad right there. But yeah, we're gonna cover more MMA and Muay Thai, kickboxing stuff in the future. This is I try and do for fighters that I like, or big fights coming up and stuff like that. So that is all for now. Canelo vid coming out soon. Immortality Serum out.